Okay. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunya Bihagati Madhava Kunya Bihagati Jayo Radha Madhava Kunya Bihagati Gopi Janavalabha Girivarurati Gopi Janavalabha Girivarurati Balabha Girivarurati Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Panachare Yamuna Tera Manachare Jayo Radho Madhava Kunya Bihagati Jayo Radho Madhava Kunya Bihagati Gopi Janavalabha Girivarurati Gopi Janavalabha Girivarurati Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Rajajana Ranjana Jambuna Tera Panachare Yamuna Tera Panachare Jayo Radho Madhava Kunya Bihagati Jayo Radha Madhava Kunya Bihagati Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Paravatikacharya, also Tada Satashi Shimad, His Divine Grace Abhaya Charanara Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Ananda Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Brahman say, Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shiva Siddhi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopi Gopinath Sai Makunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai, Vrindavan ki jai, Mathuram ki jai, Jagadada Swami ki jai, Mudamai ki jai, Srimati Lasi Devi ki jai, Samveda Bhakta Vrindi ki jai, Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bo. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Samaniti Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharni Nivashesha Sunyavati Paschachati Shatarni. So today we are reading from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, 60th chapter, text 46. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ashtu Amujaksha Mama Te Charananuraga Atman Ratasha Mai Chanatirikta Drishte Yarhi Asya Vidya Upata Rajo Ati Matro Mam Ikshase Tad U Ha Na Paramanukampa Ashtvambu Jaksha Mamate Charananuraga Atman Ratasya Mayichanati Dikta Trishte. Yaryasya Vidyaya Upata Rajoti Matro. Mamikshase Taduhana Paramanukampa. Ashtvambu Jaksha Mamate Charananuraga. Atman Ratasya Mayi Chanati Dita Trishte. Yaryasya Vidya Upata Rajoti Matro. Mamikshase Taduhana Paramanukampa. Ashvambu Jaksha Mamate Charanana Nuraga. Atmam Ratasya Mahichana Tagrita Trishte. Yaryasya Vidya Pata Rajoti Matro. Mamikshase Taduhana Paramanukampa. Ladies? Hey, ladies? Buggies. Okay. Astu. May there be Ambuja Aksha. O lotus-eyed one. Mama, my. Te, your. Charana, for the feet. Anuraga, steady attraction. Atman, in yourself. Ratasya, who take your pleasure. Mai, toward me. Cha, and. Anatarita, not much. Drishte, whose glance. Yarhi, when. Asha, of this universe. Vridaye, for the increase. Upata, assuming. Raja, of the mode of passion. Atimatra, and abundance. Mam, at me. Ikshase, you look. Tat, that. Uha, indeed. Na, for us. Parama, the greatest. Anukampa, show of mercy. So translation, O lotus-eyed one, though you are satisfied within yourself and thus rarely turn your attention toward me, please bless me with steady love for your lotus feet. For your feet, sorry. It's lotus anyway. It is when you assume a predominance of passion in order to manifest the universe that you glance upon me, showing me what is indeed your greatest mercy. So you can repeat, O lotus-eyed one, though you are satisfied within yourself, and thus rarely turn your attention toward me, please bless me with steady love for your feet. It is when you assume a predominance of passion in order to manifest the universe that you glance upon me, showing me what is indeed your greatest mercy. So purport by the followers of His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. So in text 20 of this chapter, Lord Krishna stated, always satisfied within ourselves, we care nothing for wives, children, and wealth. Here, Rukmini Devi humbly replies, yes, you take pleasure within yourself, and therefore you rarely look at me. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that Lord Krishna had already declared his love for Rukmini from the Srimad Bhagavatam 10:53-2. Tathaham api tatschito nidram chana labe nishi. I'm also thinking about her so much so that I cannot sleep at night. Lord Krishna is satisfied within himself, and if we remember that Sri Mati Rukmini Devi is his internal potency, we can understand that his loving affairs with her are expressions of his pure spiritual happiness. Here, however, Queen Rukmini humbly identifies herself with the Lord's external energy, which is her expansion. Therefore, she says, though you do not look often upon me, when you are ready to manifest the material universe and thus begin to work through the material quality of passion, which is your potency, you glance at me. In this way you show me your greatest mercy. Thus Acharya Vishwanath explains that Goddess Rukmini's statement can be understood in two ways. And of course, the Vaishnavas, after thoroughly understanding the philosophy of Krishna from the bona fide Acharyas, simply relish these loving affairs between the Lord and his exalted devotees. So there's extensive commentaries by the Acharyas, and some of which I'm going to read, because they're very important. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states, she replies to his statement that he is indifferent to family life. Just by considering his indifference or neutrality, she reached a calm state in the sthai bhava of neutrality. Sthai, steady bhava of neutrality. Of course, she's not. Her traditional or normal sthai bhava is not that of neutrality. And then she then became merged in an ocean of humility, which is actually consistent with neutrality. Let me have attachment to your feet, even if you are indifferent. It is right that you should be indifferent to me, just as you, being Atma Ramat, means taking pleasure in the self, self-satisfied, glance on the universe with indifference. You should not show special favor to me. When you assume the mode of passion for increasing the universe with eagerness, then you will certainly glance upon me and will rejoice. That is a great show of mercy to me. I consider that to be my greatest fortune. The meaning is as follows. Actually, you are very attached to me, as your own words indicate. Thinking of you, I do not sleep at night. That's Krishna's words, of course. Again, that Bhagavatam verse earlier in the chapter. And you are also detached from me, when an earlier chapter, as indicated in statements such as I am indifferent. If you are attracted to me, then I become your internal Swarup Shakti. Though you are Atmaram, you attain bliss through me who arise from your very self. If you are indifferent to me, I become your external energy made of material gunas. Thus you have both attraction and indifference to me, and I have attraction and indifference to you as well. Very interesting statement. So I don't think we have time to read too much of the other acharyas, so I wanted to talk about, first of all, her position, which is her ontological position. That means who Rukmini is. Of course, Rukmini, we know, she's Krishna's wife and the goddess of fortune. And the expansions of Rukmini are the Lakshmis in the spiritual world, the Vaikuntha planets, and Krishna has Lakshmi Sahasra Sata Sambrahma Sevyamanam Govindamani Purushottamam Jami. So many Lakshmis, thousands, millions, infinite Lakshmis in the spiritual world. And the Lakshmis expand in this material world as Krishna's external energy, Durga. And I'm going to read some verses from the Brahma Samhita that deal with Durga's position. And we're going to begin with the 7th verse in the 5th chapter of the Brahma Samhita. And I'm not going to read the complete commentaries, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur's commentaries, but they're very enlivening in this regard. Mayana Ramanasya Navyogas Tayasaha Atmana Ramaya Reme Jakta Kalam Sistrikshya, which is an interesting statement about Krishna's detachment from the material energy, because he's detached when Rukmini expands herself through Lakshmi, through as the material energy, The statement here is Krishna never consorts with his illusory energy. He's not interested personally in personal interaction with the illusory energy. This also means, I was listening to a class of Srila Prabhupada this morning, that you cannot impress Krishna by anything in this world. You can be a very rich man, you can be a very intelligent man or woman, you can be coming from a good family. Krishna's not impressed with any of that. Of course, Prabhupada quoted in this particular class this first what everybody knows, Bhaktimam avijanati avanyas chasmi tattva, that I am only known by bhakti, or devotion, love. In other words, when Krishna says in the Gita, Patram pushpam tavam poyam yome bhakta priyachati, he says, whatever you do, whatever you offer, of course, should be done with devotion. In other words, to please Krishna. So we should understand Rukmini's position in this particular regard, that even though she's exhibiting here humility and talking about her ontological position as far as the expansion is concerned, still, and she's also angry at Krishna too, as we've heard from the previous verses, still everything she's doing is to please Krishna. Normally, we think of anger as something that, I get angry a lot. Yesterday I got angry and yelled a little, unfortunately. But we think of anger in this world like as a means of venting our particular frustrations. It's all about me. But when Rukmini is exhibiting her anger towards Krishna, she's actually thinking simultaneously. She's angry, that's true. But she's thinking simultaneously, this will please Krishna. Because that's what Krishna wanted. Krishna wanted her to be angry because Krishna wanted to enjoy these sort of exchanges that she is giving Krishna right now. And also it's mentioned that Krishna is Atmaram, he's self-satisfied. So why does he go to her for these exchanges? Because even though he's self-satisfied in terms of his needs or his ontological position or aspects of this material world or the spiritual world, he still hankers after these interactions with his devotees. That's why we find in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita that Krishna is actually hankering, lamenting that Gopal Kumar has not yet come back to him. So, let me continue with this translation of the verse in the Brahma Samhita. Still, her connection is not entirely cut off from the absolute truth. When he intends to create this material world, the amorous pastime, that means loving pastime, in which he engages by consorting with his own spiritual chit potency, Rama. So, chit means the spiritual potency, not the material potency. And Rama is just another name for that spiritual potency, or Lakshmi. By casting his glance at the diluting energy, means material energy, and actually that's the pradhan at that particular point, in the shape of sending his time energy. So his glance is how he consorts or interacts with the material energy, is an auxiliary activity. It's not his main activity. His main activity is consorting with his internal potencies, such as Rukmini. And anyway, so the next verse in the Brahma Samhita 5.8 is quite instructive in this regard. Niyati sa Rama Devi tatpriya tad vasham tada kalingam bhagavan shambur jyoti rupa sanatana yayoni sapara shakti kamo bijam mahadare. The secondary process of association with Maya is described. Rama Devi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Lord, is the regulatrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna, that's the Mahavishnu, creates the mundane world. At creation, there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, swamsa. So there's two things, Vibhinamsa and swamsa, that means his own subjective portion. This halo and that's in reference to, is the divine Shambhu, that's Shiva, who is the masculine symbol or manifest emblem of the Supreme Lord. So Krishna's glance, in other words, Krishna doesn't directly consort with the material energy, which is an expansion of Rukmini, but Shambhu consorts with her, the material energy. So, and actually, it's interesting, it's explained in the purport that that this is the seed, interesting, of sex desire in the material world. Like if someone experiences sex, if, I shouldn't use that word, when, sorry about that, when someone experiences the sex desire, that is the fructification of the seed of Shambhu consorting, that is Lord Shiva consorting with Krishna's, with Maya, or the material energy, which is expansion of, ultimately, of Rukmini. This, I found that quite interesting. The seed, I'll read it again, the seed of sex desire is to be found in this mundane world is that of Kali, etc., who are the shadows of the divine potency. The former, though it is the prototype of the latter, in other words, the Lord Shiva consorting with the material energy is the prototype of this mundane stuff, is located very far from it. The seed of the mundane sex desire is the perverted reflection in this mundane world of the seed of the original creative desire. So here's Krishna consorting, actually expanding as Lord Shiva to consort with the material energy. And what we experience as the perverted as the sex desire of this world is a perverted reflection of that. And ultimately, it's a perverted reflection of Krishna's conjugal loving affairs, either swakiya or parakiya in the spiritual world. You know, parakiya, of course, means like Krishna with the gopis, and swakiya means Krishna with his wives. So we should remember that whenever one of us, let's say all of us, some of you may be free from sex desire, but whenever any of you experiences this, and the sex desire includes what? Profit, adoration, distinction. You should understand that is a perverted reflection of what's happening in the spiritual world and also what's happening between Lord Shiva and Parvati. And of course in the Bhagavad Gita we find this in the 15th chapter. The description of the material world as a reflection is compared to the reflection of a banyan tree on the banks of a particular body of water. So anyway, just one or two more of these. And I had another point, an important point. I had a lot of points to bring forth in this class, but I'm not going to have time. Text 9 is Linga Yon Yatmika Jata Ima Maheshwari Praja. All offspring of the consort of the great Lord Maheshwara of this mundane world are the nature of the embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine generative organs. In other words, our male or female bodies, and everything goes along with them, are actually manifestations or perverted manifestations, the embodiment, and we're considered the embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine organs, generative organs. Phew. It's enough to make you humble, isn't it? So in other words, Rukmini is actually comparing herself to the reflection in this material world out of humility. We're going to deal with humility right now. So anyway, so those are the verses in the Brahma Samhita that are in line with what Rukmini was stating. Now, her comparison, or her equating herself with Durga, or her reflection or expansion of this material world, is a manifestation of her humility. Even though she is the eternal goddess of fortune, even though she has a spiritual body, as we heard in the previous verse, she considers herself to have a material body. She is manifesting extreme humility, which is not only a necessary ingredient for becoming Krishna conscious, but it stimulates pure Krishna consciousness. Not only necessary, but it's very much connected with prema, as we're going to read right now from the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So the loving devotional service is far different from disciplines such as karma, jnana, and yoga. At every stage, it is decorated by indifference to them, and its root, the root of loving devotional service, is dainya, utter humility. The most essential, and the citation from the purport's quite lengthy, but is the most essential support, and a candidate for pure devotional service must always take help from it, is utter humility. And of course, we do know Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu states, Chanadapi Sunichena Torodiva Sishna Manina Manadena Kirtaniya Siddhahari. So humility here is defined. Wise men define dainya, that's humility, as the state in which one always thinks oneself exceptionally incapable and low, even when endowed with all excellences. Even though you may have all, like Rukmini, even though she isn't perfectly endowed with all excellences, but she thinks of herself as exceptionally incapable and low, as the material energy in this particular verse. So, I'm not going to read the commentaries because they're quite lengthy. There may be something here that's interesting. No. So the next verse of the Brahma Samhita says, an intelligent person, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, sorry, not Brahma Samhita. An intelligent person should carefully cultivate speech, behavior, and thinking that fix him in utter humility. And anything that stands in the way of this, he should avoid. Think about that. Next verse. Dainya, that's humility again, at its most exalted comes forth when prema, pure love of God, reaches full maturity, as it did in the women of Gokul when they were separated from Krishna. And next verse. When Dainya fully matures, prema unfolds without limit. And so we see Dainya and prema acting in a relationship in which each is both the cause and effect. So when you have prema, you have humility. When you have true humility, of course, not just like material humility, thinking, I'm just a dog, I'm useless, I'm hopeless, depressed too. So, but true humility is understanding not only, Chanadapi Sunichena, but a Turor Ivasihishna, a manina manadena, offering respects to others, not simply thinking less of yourself, but offering respects to others. Kirtaniya, and chanting the Lord's holy names and being devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So when we see Dainya and Prema acting in a relationship in which each is both the cause and effect, and the purport to this verse, if Prema is supposed, and this of course is Gopi Pranadana Prabhu quoting from Sanatana Goswami, who wrote his own Tika for the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. If Prema is supposed to be the final result of all devotional endeavors, how can Dainya be a consequence of Prema? An answer, yes, Prema is the final goal, but Dainya is not altogether different from Prema. Because this humility has to be in relationship with Krishna, as I mentioned before. You have to understand, I am small and Krishna is great. I am Krishna's servant. That's also part of Dainya. Dainya is an integral component of Prema, and both foster one another. Now, why am I speaking about this? Of course, this is related to the verse, but also it comes to mind when, just like yesterday, Mother Irma was talking about the sahaja tendency. And what is a sahaja tendency? Of course, I do have all these different types of sahajas listed, which I obviously would take two hours for me to talk about. Yesterday, she actually mentioned basically one of them, which is Saki Beki. Saki Beki, anyway, there's 12 or 13 different types of sahajas, depending on which are deviant Vaishnava Sampradayas, so-called Sampradayas, Upper Sampradayas, depending on whose list you're reading. But in any case, Saki Beki means those who are not proud, and they think that they can achieve Krishna consciousness, basically all the sahajas, or all the Prakriti sahajas, of all the Upper Sampradayas entail pride. Then one thinks one is better than one is. Of course, the let's say the most extreme example of pride amongst all the different Upper Sampradayas is the Atibadis, who think they're great. You know, they even think they're God sometimes, or they're Krishna. And of course, you have that personality who Bhaktivinoda Thakur was chastising and arresting, Vibhishana, who thought he was, or portrayed himself as Mahavishnu when he was having rasa dances with different girls. So anyway, so the point is humility. If we have humility and consider ourselves low and servants of Krishna, rather than thinking I'm so advanced in devotional service, I have so many qualities, then we're actually protected from these improper understandings, these apasampradayas, or deviations, which can basically all be termed one way or other as Prakriti Sahaja, materialist, taking things easy. And the way to do that is to cultivate humility. And here Prabhupada, I'm going to read a quote, obviously. From Srila Prabhupada. This is an interesting quote about understanding or being humble and understanding one's position in devotional service before one tries to enter into the higher aspects of Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada states, first of all, anartha nivritti. You are accustomed to so many bad habits. First of all, try to rectify. Then talk of Swarupa. Where's your Swarupa? Simply wasting time. A man is diseased. He's thinking, when I shall be cured, I shall eat, go to this hotel, I shall eat like this. First of all, cure. Then talk of eating this and that. Swarupa, when you are cured, that is Swarupa. Cured means anartha nivritti. You know, at least nishta, being able to control, not manifest your anartha. So long you are not cured, what is the use of talking Swarupa? First business is cure yourself. So here's a quote from Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur in his famous writing about Prakrita Sahajas. He says, genuine devotees on the level of spontaneous devotional service never say that neophyte students of devotion have attained ras. The pure emotions characteristic of the goal of spontaneous devotion are never attained without first experiencing the progressive development of spiritual attachment, rati. Progressive development means what is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and by Srila Rupa Goswami, Ado Shraddha Sadhusango Ta Bhajana Kriya. In other words, going through all these different stages, associating with devotees, performing devotional service, getting rid of the anarthas, anartha nivritti shat, becoming steady in devotional service. No one can ever experience the sprouting of pure ecstatic emotions without first following the regulated injunction of the scriptures. One who does not give up materialistic faith can never attain the stage of spiritual attachment in devotional service. If divine ecstatic emotions have not yet awakened, there's no possibility of becoming a rasika, a true relisher of devotional mellows. If materialistic emotions are not entirely rejected, and I'm going to have to end after this, one can never become a true rasika. So that's a pretty absolute statement. Yeah, it's from Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And I have the Bengali for it too, which I didn't have time to read. If materialistic emotions are not entirely rejected, that's absolute. One can never become a true rasika. And another statement, I just have to take, anyway, it's time to greet the deities. Without first climbing the branch of a tree, the fruits can never be reached. Anyway, this is his, I forget the name of the book, but it's his whole, actually it's an article about Prakrita Sahajas and the problems with Prakrita Sahajas and the warnings to us to be careful about thinking ourselves on a higher platform than we're at, and also what to speak of talking about it to others. One has to be very practical, and that requires cultivating humility. And we take the example of Rukmini Devi, who is manifesting humility, and that humility is actually wins over the Lord's mercy and the Lord's compassion. Okay, all glories.
Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Kamaham Bhajami Bharavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Namaham Bhajami Govindam Aniya Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Pasyanti Panti Kayanti Giram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Amaham Bhajami 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 Govindam.
Namaho Vishnu Pataya Krishna Prastaya Putale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Samini Namaste Sakshvati Jeve Gauravani Vacha Nilivishesha Shunyavadi Matsajagati Satarande Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaurakrishna Advaita Gaurakrishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaurakrishna Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Advaita Gadadhara Sivasari Gaurakrishna Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama, Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Looking nana, looking nana, Rate. Looking nana, looking nana, Rate. Vishnupad, Paramahansa, Paravatikacharya, all to the Tada, Sadashi, Sumad, Divine Grace Vaya, Chananada Bhaktivedanta, Goswami, Srila, Prabhupada, ISKCON founder, Prabhupada,
Cheto Darpanam Arjanam Bhagavatam Treya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam Pratipanam Pranamrita Swadanam Sarvatma Snapanam Param Vidayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrapitana Yadatarane Nakala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Udardaiva Midrishami Hajjani Nanuraga Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Suhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Va Jagadisha Kamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvarim Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Bhatitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Babada Pankaja Stita Duli Sajashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galarshu Daraya Varanam Gad Gadridaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Tavanama Grahane Bhavishyati Yugayatam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyava Padamritam Anastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vidadatulam Pato Mat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us by your holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw on the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, void of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others in such a state of mind